If your front load washing machine rubber gasket is moldy, grimy, or has a stinky odor, let me show you the best way to clean that up. The first place I like to start is to come through and wipe down the entire gasket to get rid of that first layer of debris that's just kind of sitting on the surface. Now, the tools you can use for this, just simply a damp piece of paper towel or a damp towel. Personally, I prefer just paper towel because you're gonna be wiping up a ton of grime and moldiness, and it's just easier to throw this away instead of getting your cleaning towels really dirty, because then you have to wash them later. Now, the reason I like to start here with just a quick wipe down first before we spray cleaners down is it really sets your cleanup for success, because you get that first easy layer off of the surface there, so that way when we come through with our next step and use cleaners, the cleaners can actually attack the nastiness that's really stuck to the surface there and not make a bigger mess. Now, when it comes to choosing the right cleaner for this job, I personally prefer to use my DIY vinegar mix, and it's super simple to make. All you need is 1 cup white vinegar, 1 cup water, and about a teaspoon of the Blue Dawn dish soap. Mix it up in a spray bottle and just spray down the entire gasket pretty liberally. You want enough on there where it can really attack all the mold and grime and things. Now, the key with this though is just to let it sit for a little while and do its thing. Now, once you've let the cleaner sit for a bit, I like to come through with just a simple toothbrush and give everything a really good scrub. The vinegar is an awesome deodorizer, so it's gonna help get rid of any of those funky, stinky odors that many times these types of washing machines have just when the gaskets get so dirty. Now, the other side of it is it has some Dawn dish soap in there, and that's an awesome degreaser. I'm sure you probably use it on your dishes and things. Well, this degreasing quality is gonna also really help, because just the laundry detergent and things kind of gets a little scummy and just built up in there as well. And you need a degreaser to break through that so you can lift it from the surface and easily clean it up. Now, the reason I like to use a toothbrush in this scenario is not only are the bristles nice and soft, so it's not gonna cause any damage, but also it's small enough, again, to kind of get into all of those nooks and crannies. And I swear, I've cleaned a lot of these, and what happens is you feel like, oh, I think I scrubbed everything, and then you pull the gasket in a different direction and you find more dirt and grime. So this is gonna come in super handy when just giving everything a really good scrub. I know some are a little cautious when it comes to using vinegar on any rubber components, but something to always keep in mind is you want to make sure to rinse the surface really well after you spray the cleaner on there. That way you're not just letting it sit on the rubber. And really the other nice thing about this DIY mix is that it's diluted already with water, so it's not quite as strong. Now, personally at my house, I have been using vinegar in my washing machine forever. I love to use it to soften my clothes and even get rid of some of those stinky odors in my work clothes, and it does a really good job, and I've personally never had an issue. But if you want to be extra careful, that's okay. I would just skip the vinegar then in this mix and only use the dish soap. Now, if you've watched the channel before, you already know this, but one of my favorite cleaning tools is a drill brush scrubber, and unfortunately, on today's clean, because it's such a small space here, it wouldn't work very well and it wouldn't really get in those nooks and crannies. However, if you are looking for more of a power scrubbing option, this little Rubbermaid scrubber does a really good job. It's essentially just a electric toothbrush, but it just helps make the job a little bit easier. Now, all the products I'm using in today's video will be linked down in the description, or you can check them out on the YouTube shopping tab on the left side of the screen. But definitely stick around, because at the end of the video, I'm gonna show you a few tips to really keep your gasket as clean as possible. And if you follow those, you shouldn't have to do a deep clean like this as often. Sometimes when you spray your cleaners on here, you'll notice kind of the cleaner start to pool on the bottom. And if this is the case, something you wanna look out for is all of these gaskets have little drains on the bottom there. And if there's water pooling there, it most likely means that it's clogged and it can't completely drain out. Now, it's important to clean these drains, because what happens is if you leave those clogged with hair and just fuzz and things, the water is always gonna sit in there, and many times this is why your gasket starts to stink and kind of get that nasty mold and mildew growth there, just because the moisture is always sitting there and it doesn't have anywhere to go to completely drain out. Now, to get these nice and clean, I suggest using just a simple pipe cleaner. These work really well. All you have to do if you come in close here is first kind of locate where they are. You'll notice there's a few here. They're kind of hard to see with the bubbles, but once you kind of find them, just gently locate them here. And what we're gonna do is just slowly but surely kind of work in the pipe cleaner and start to clean out that little area. This can be a little challenging at first, especially if they're super clogged, kind of like this one. Give that a real good clean. Once you get the first one unclogged, many times the water will start to drain, but just repeat this process across the other drains and it should be good to go. Now, once you're done giving everything a good scrub and you feel like you got it all lifted from the surface there, what I like to suggest you do is come through with a 2-towel system to completely rinse and wipe down the entire gasket. Now, it's a good idea to always start at the top and just work your way down and pay special attention again to all of those nooks and crannies because you want to make sure that you're not leaving anything behind. If you do leave behind a little mold and mildew, not only can it continue to grow and get your gasket dirty again, but it can also create a stinky odor, and there is nothing worse than that. And if honestly you let it go for too long as well, that can even start making your clothes stinky too. So just make sure you wipe everything down really good so there's nothing left behind. Now, while you're wiping things down, you might even notice a few areas that maybe either you missed or just needs a little extra cleaning. When it comes to this job, you might have to clean the surface a few times to completely remove everything. Now, sometimes after cleaning, you still have a little bit of discoloration or kind of like black marks on the actual rubber itself. And a lot of times this is from that mold just sitting there for a long extended period of time. And it just kind of gets into the rubber, and this can be really hard to remove. Now, one product that I found works pretty well, not all the time, is this product here called Sugary. It is a gel. You just apply it to the surface there, kind of spread a nice layer over the area that's affected that kind of has that discoloration there. Let this sit for a minimum of 24 hours. I usually like to just let it sit there right before I go to bed. I'll put it on, wake up in the morning, and then give it a quick rinse and everything. Now, this should take care of most of that. I will say though, sometimes if it's really, really bad, and if this doesn't touch it, your best option is to replace the gasket itself. And to do that, you need usually some specialty tools. Some machines you can do it on your own, but it's usually best to call a professional. To keep your gasket cleaner longer and so you don't have to do a deep clean as often, there is 3 things I like to recommend. The first, after every use, it's always a good idea to just grab a dry towel and just dry out the entire gasket there. That way you're not leaving any moisture in there, because if you do, it could potentially start to grow mold and mildew and again, start to stink. Now, the second thing to do is also leave the door cracked at all times. This is gonna help airflow through the machine. That way, if there is any moisture in there, it can easily dry up. For me, I like to just use a simple little magnet attachment. It keeps the door completely open. That way it doesn't get accidentally closed, and again, that mold and mildew could potentially grow on you. The last thing is to always run a clean cycle at least once a month. Now, I like to buy just a box of the little cleaning tablets. I think you can get them on Amazon. It's a whole year supply. Just throw one of those in, run a cycle, and your machine should stay nice and clean. And there you have it. Now you know the best way to get your front load washing machine rubber gasket nice and clean. Thanks so much for watching as always, and if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel and smash that like button. I also need to say thank you to the Clean Squad members over on our Patreon. We really appreciate the support. If you want to join us over there and get access to things like PDF cleaning guides or your name credited down below, definitely check the link down in the description, and as always, I'll see you on the next clean.